time. Staring back at me. Come on, brother, harmonize with me. It's all that I want. And it's all that I want. Yeah, all that I need. All that I need.
Hi, I'm Maddie Orton for JerseyArts.com. A new musical about brotherly love set in Bayonne takes the stage at Hudson Theatre Works. Elliot Me tells the true life story of Elliot Willensky, a magnetic and carefree songwriter, and his younger brother Steven, who's both admiring of and frustrated by his cool older brother. The show features music from Elliot's real catalog of songs and a script written by Steven and playwright Scott Coulter.
So this all started probably 20 years ago. My brother and I didn't live in the same city, but whenever we would get together, we'd always wind up at a club or at a restaurant, and we would gravitate to a piano. And he wrote beautiful love songs. And the two of us would perform his songs in front of whoever was in the audience. Sometimes there'd be a crowd of 20, and sometimes be a crowd of 250. And we always used to joke about the fact we ought to do a two-man show.
At one time, Elliot Willensky was under contract with Motown, and some of his songs were big hits. Gotta Be There was Michael Jackson's debut solo single, and it was later covered by Chaka Khan, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, and Boyz II Men.
Got to be there in the morning, bring her coffee, and tell her that we'll be alright.
Not all of Elliot's compositions were hits. In fact, some were never recorded. That was part of why Steven Willensky was interested in creating a musical around his brother's work, to get Elliot's songs out to the public.
All I did was write down stories about things that had happened to us and a list of his songs that we potentially could sing in between the stories. Moved the clock up over the next year, we started working on it, and then I get a call on March 15th, my brother suffered a stroke, and he was gone 2 weeks later. And, I was handling his business affairs and tapping into his computer. And I found that he had literally the night of his stroke composed this email of another story he wanted to add to our show. And I broke down and cried. And I looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to do this show. I'm going to figure out how to do it.
Steven brought in theater professionals and interviewed various playwrights. After several readings and a complete reworking of the show, the decade-long project is finally getting on its feet.
Because of COVID, we actually did a first run of this last year where we filmed it, but we had a very tight time compression. We couldn't let people interact with each other and basically had to pull this all together like in a week. So we didn't get a chance to sort of go through the script and make some changes, but we put it out there and we had great audience response.
Happiness starts first with a smile. Now you're in style.
Lots of work, and several months later, Steven will finally get feedback on Elliot Me in its edited in-person form.
Until we actually see an audience, a live audience react to it, we don't know.
Hudson Theatre Works artistic director Frank Licato sees the show as a great fit for his company, which he describes as producing theater that explores tension between characters. Not to mention the fact that the Willenskys grew up in Hudson County, where much of the musical takes place.
Our theater is a very intimate space. The audience is literally like 15 feet away from where the actors are, which we love, and creates a wonderful sort of tension between the audience and whatever piece they're watching. So Elliot fit in the sense that we wanted to do something around this time of season that was probably more joyous and very life affirming. And we felt that Elliot had that. And then the idea that it was our first musical, and it was a new musical, it's a world premiere, we thought was just, it was very exciting.
We try to craft the story in the show so that people would walk out of there being inspired and think about a relationship they have with a sibling or a parent or a child, and how they may want to think about it differently and to appreciate what they have. Because as we've all found out, in an instant, that could be gone.
The singer tells the story in the song he's singing.
As hard as it was when my brother passed away, there was nothing that we left unsaid.
Steven thinks Elliot would love that the show introduces his music to a new audience, though he might quibble over Steven's perspective on a few anecdotes.
How do you think he would feel about the show if he were able to be here?
He would say, I wish I could rewrite some of the stories. From my point of view, that's what he would say. For me, the sad thing is Elliot is going to be looking down at it, but I wish he were right next to me, because I tell you what, he would really just love it.
Life goes on in all of his songs. The singer.
Elliot and Me runs through December 12th, and you can get more information at hudsontheatreworks.org. That's theater with an R-E. I'm Maddie Orton. Thanks for watching.
Got to be there, got to be there in the morning when she says hello to the world. Got to be there.